Kate made 10,000 of expenses. So finally, we arrive at gross trading profits, not a net profit. There are more expenses to deduct. So the gross profit is 30,000, and it's in this section, expenses and deductions, we input any other expenses, which are sometimes called general and admin expenses. They are also called overheads. That's an old-fashioned term, not precise, but this is what people call it. So these expenses will go here. Kate doesn't employ any people, so there are no salaries or wages. She didn't pay any subcontractors, so there is 0 here. She paid 1,000 in consultancy professional fees like accounting, legal, so 1,000 goes here. She had 1,000 of motor and travel expenses, and other expenses in total 8,000. So in the end, if you deduct from the gross profit 30,000, this amounts to 8, 9, 10. So we arrived at net profit 20,000. This is what we input at the beginning. This section is called capital account and balance sheet items. So this section relates to the second financial statements I explained before, balance sheet. So we have 2, profit and loss, that was the previous section, and balance sheet. So balance sheet items will go into here. Balance sheet is not an easy statement to understand. And as I said, if you are interested, I will be running more courses to help you understand how to prepare that, but it really requires some more bookkeeping knowledge. So I have just input some figures here as an example. So it contains drawings, so the money that Kate took from the business, closing capital balance 20,000, in cash left in bank, so assets is 20,000 and net assets positive 20,000. Important thing that closing capital balance has to equal net assets positive. This is what the balance sheet is about. It has to balance. So this layout is not really very easy to follow, and it's not in real accounting terms. So it would be easier to understand if you knew how a proper accounting balance sheet is done. So again, in this section, we repeat the net profit figure again. So 20,000, we calculated already. And in this section, if you had any private use of business expenses, if any of the expenses related to the private use, you would enter the adjustments here. So for instance, you had motor expenses of 1,000. And half of that related to your private use. So you would enter half of that in here. That's in very general terms. So that was your self-employment section, self-employed section. The next one is, I'm just going to run through it because it's not relevant to the scenario. So if you had any Irish rental income, you would have to complete this one. The next section is important, relates to PAYE, BIK, and pensions. So if Kate had any PAYE income, she would have to include the figures in here. She doesn't have any employment income, but in the second scenario, we will see the example. I will go through it. So we skip this section for Kate because she doesn't have any employment. We go to the next section, which deals with tax credits. So again, this is very particular scenario. So if there was any tax refund received during the year, it would be entered here, but usually it would be populated automatically in the system. So this one is really for special cases, not relevant here. Pension contribution relief, very particular case. Allowable deductions, again, as I said, every possible scenario here. So if you there is a tax credit available for certain professions, it's called flat rate expenses. So if you were a teacher, for example, you are due a certain tax credit, you would enter the amount here. The list of professions can be obtained from the revenue website if you want to find out if you are due the tax credit.